Hey, what's up everybody? This is Tony with Lido Loca, and we're here to talk about ways to save money for your cruise. Alright guys, this is part 3 of a series I've been running. Make sure you check out the other 2 videos. The first one is how to pay for your cruise, and number 2 was how to make more money for your cruise. I'll have a link pop up above or definitely down in the description below. You don't have to watch them in any particular order, but if you want to understand how we got to this point, watch those 2 first and you will have a better understanding. The main point of this video is to talk about how to save money on your cruise. We mentioned it in the very first video that once you understand how much your cruise vacation is going to cost, you got to figure out a way to pay for it. And so you can either say you need to save up $200 a month. You can either figure out a way to make $200 a month, or you can figure out a way to spend less and save $200 a month and put that toward your cruise vacation. In this video, I'm going to give you at least 10 tips and maybe a couple bonus tips on how you can actually save money for your cruise. Alright, before we get into the tips though, I want to stress 2 things. To me, the main 2 things are you have to make a plan, and number 2, you have to pay yourself. These are the key things. The best way to make a plan is to make a budget to track your spending. That way you can understand where the money that you have is going now, and you can start figuring out ways to be creative to save money by changing line items in your budget. You may not even have to work extra, side hustle, anything we talked about in the last video to get the money you need for a cruise. You might just be able to be a little more focused on the money that you have now and figure out a way to save that money. And so I would say the very first tip I'm going to give you is make a plan, make a budget, and then number 2, make sure that you're paying yourself on a monthly basis. Now, you know, the way you can pay yourself, you could set up a special savings account. If you figured out a way in your budget not to need the $200, maybe you can do something through your employer and have that direct deposited into a savings account. You want to make it as hard as possible to easily use that money so that as it piles up, you can only pull it out when you want to go on your cruise vacation. But yeah, I'm going to say it one more time. I think it's that important. Make a plan and pay yourself, and then try some of these tips. So the next few tips are going to be tips on cutting cost. Number 1, and this is one that I've been trying to do, I'm new in it, but I can give you some results of just this week. Cutting out coffee at the coffee shop. Now, I'm a little bit of a Starbucks, I'm addicted to it. I'm a little bit of a Starbucks-aholic. And so every day when I would go to work, I would just pick up a $4 iced coffee, and it was just part of the normal routine. So I do that 5 days a week. That's $20. I do that 4 weeks a month. That's $80. Well, this past week I've only been drinking the free coffee at work. And so I'm using the coffee, the creamer, the sugar, all the supplies that they have there. And so in just this 1 week, I've saved. So yeah, as tempting as it is, it's super convenient. I kind of hate making my own coffee. Not that I'm lazy. I just have a lot going on, and I love the fact that I can just push a button on my phone and my coffee's ready. But there is a cost to that convenience, and I value the $80 more than the 5 or 10 minutes it takes for me to make my coffee the way I like it at work. So if you're hitting the Starbucks on the daily, if you're hitting Dunkin', even if you're getting the $2 coffee at McDonald's, that all represents a cost that if you can find a free way to do it, you're going to be able to save, and you can put that money toward your cruise. Now, closely related is number 2, pack a lunch. This is something I also hate doing. Again, I was successful 4 of the 5 days this week, and basically I bought like frozen lunch. And so knowing that I'm not great at preparing my lunch or making sandwiches or anything like that, I just bought frozen like lean cuisine and some fruit, and I bought a box of protein bars. And so again, it's amazing how quickly you can save money. When I wasn't bringing my protein bar for breakfast and my lean cuisine for lunch, I would go and I would get Chick-fil-A nuggets for breakfast, $5. And then where I work in Uptown Charlotte, you can almost not find lunch for less than $10 to $12. So let's just call it $10. So I had my $4 coffee, I had my $5 chicken nuggets, and I had my $10 lunch. That's almost $20 a day. 5 days a week, $100 a week that I was just spending on food that I could have gotten cheaper and coffee that I could have gotten for free. And so now going forward, and I got to stick to it, I can save close to $100 a week or $400 a month. That's almost a cruise budget just by being mindful. So there was some cost, right? Like the protein bar was about $1. The Lean Cuisine was $2. The coffee was free. And I do say I did the lunch 4 days this week. I brought my protein bar every day. But I think, in all of these things, when you go to the extreme, you risk failing because it's such an extreme. And so what I decided to do is to make Fridays get whatever I want for lunch day. And so it's a little bit of a way to trick myself, still saving money throughout the week. Maybe eventually I'll cut that out, but it was nice on Friday to wander around uptown a little bit and try to find a new place to get something to eat or get something different than I haven't had before, and it didn't feel as restrictive. So it gives you something to look forward to. So I think in all these things, if you can figure out a way to balance, completely cutting out your spending and maybe just spending, significantly less, you're going to feel better about it. So number 1, cut out coffee. Number 2, pack a lunch. Number 3, eat out less often. I know that sometimes Jenny and I don't really feel like cooking, and we can get in a cycle where we'll eat out 2 or 3 times a week. That can be costly. And so if you're somebody that eats out more than once a week, I would say try to cut it down to once a week. Again, you got to strike that balance. You can't just sit in your house the whole time. Life is meant for living, and so don't pass up on great experiences. Take your significant other out for a date night, have a fun meal. But maybe try to limit it to 1 time a week or 1 time every 2 weeks, and you'll be able to add some significant savings and be able to fund your cruise fund probably in a way you hadn't thought you'd be able to. You probably after that last video, you're like, oh, I don't really want to get a second job. Well, if that's the case, maybe you can squeeze out some space in your budget just by not eating out. It's so easy to do too, right? But try to be mindful. The other tip that goes along with that is go grocery shopping on a regular basis. The thing that kills Jenny and I, it's just us two. We don't like to have our house stocked with food. We enjoy just having little bits of food at a time. And so sometimes it gets us in trouble. Oh, there's nothing in the fridge. Let's go out to eat. And so the other thing that we're trying to do is make a plan to get some groceries in the house so that we can limit the amount of time we're spending the extra money to eat out. All right, so we've covered your coffee, we've covered your lunch, we've covered your dinner. Tip number 4 is don't ever buy convenience store soda or water if you can help it. The whole, look, like the name convenient equals more expensive. They put it right in the name convenience store, and the whole point is that's the warning sign. It's the more expensive store. So for example, if you want to go get like a 20-ounce soda, I remember back in the day where that used to be like 89 cents, 99 cents. Well, a lot of times now it's $1.99, $2 to get a 20-ounce soda, when you can go to your local Walmart or your Target and get a 6-pack of 20-ounce sodas for like $3. And so same thing for water. You can go and get multi-packs of water for $3 or $4, but you're going to pay a couple bucks in the convenience store. You're paying for the convenience. And so again, there's a way, if you go out and you get a soda on the daily and you're paying $1.50 more than what you would if you chilled it in your refrigerator at home and brought it with you, that equals significant savings. Let's just say you're paying $1 more than you would if you brought it from home. That's $5 a week if it's during the work week. It's $20 a month and $240 a year. $240 a year will buy you an excursion on a cruise. So again, it's just a little thing, but a little pre-planning and a little skipping on the convenience could save you some money. All right, so moving, those are easy. So food is an easy one. I think it's really easy to spend extra money on food. So that's where I started. I'm like, what lever can I pull to end up with a little more coin in my cruise coffer, in my cruise budget? And it was for me, it was cutting out food and expensive drink. But another thing that we've done pretty diligently is we've reduced the amount we're paying for entertainment in the house, and that's primarily cable, right? So if you have DirecTV, if you have a standard cable to your house with a big old cable package and a DVR, you're likely paying close to $200 a month. And so that's where we were at. We were paying close to $200 a month for internet and for cable. And we were like, well, we got to do something different. And so there's so many services out there where you can figure out the TV shows that you want to watch. There's Netflix, Hulu, there's an app for Showtime, an app for HBO. There's almost an app for everything. There's an app for wrestling. And, I think sometimes we just want as many choices as possible instead of choosing inside the choices that we have. And so that's the decision Jenny and I made. We used to have, we cut the cable. We did good. We dropped down to where we were just paying $70 a month for internet. So that was $130 savings right there. Then we added on Netflix for $10, and then we added on Hulu for $10, and then we added on HBO for $14, then we added on Showtime for $14, then we added on the WWE Network for $10, then we added on the CBS On Demand for $7. And look, we found ourselves back at the 150, 160 mark, and still, way too many choices and could never decide what to watch. So finally we said, look, we're only going to turn on the HBO app when there's something that we want to watch, Game of Thrones, some sort of show. We're only going to turn on Showtime when there's something that we want to watch. And the cool thing about those services is you can turn them on and off on a monthly basis. And we said, hey, do we really need Hulu and Netflix? So basically where we're at today is we have our internet package and we have Hulu. And our Hulu also has a $4 a month HBO. And so we're about $14 there. So we're at about $85 for cable and at least a little bit of TV option. And that's saving us about $115 a month, which is significant over time. So I would say if you can cut the cable, and you got to change your mindset a little bit. All the shows that I like to watch, not on the Hulu app. AMC shows like The Walking Dead, not on the Hulu app. And so I had to decide, do I really want to watch The Walking Dead? I can buy it per episode for $2 or $3 an episode. And it really made me think, I probably just don't want to watch The Walking Dead anymore. It's not that important. And then leverage where you can get free services. So of course, YouTube. Go watch YouTube. Go watch Lido Loca videos. Ching, 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 ching. Or any other cruising videos. There's so much entertainment. You can find tons of documentaries on YouTube. And that's free. If you're an Amazon Prime member, they have an app where you can watch a lot of free video. And so look at your cable budget. See if you got a telephone still too. I don't know if you have an old landline telephone. Is that bundled into your cable or even just on its own? Cut the cord. Just use your cell phone. And cut the cable back, and you can find a lot of savings that way. And I tell you what, $100 a month goes a long way toward a cruise budget, and you're probably not watching that much TV anyway. So check that out. That's 5, and those all kind of focus around on how to cut simple costs, cut food costs, cut entertainment costs. I've got a couple radical ideas that I'm going to give you right here that really could be a big deal. The first question is, do you have a car payment? Do you have multiple car payments? Hopefully your cars are paid off. That's where you want to be at the end of the day. It is so challenging when you get to the end of having a car loan and your car's a little less shiny than it was at the beginning. The temptation is to go out and to buy a new one. We are at the end of a car loan, and so I absolutely understand that sentiment. But the interesting thing is I've started using mass transportation, and we're on the fence about whether to keep 2 cars. Now that's not going to work for everybody, especially if you got a family. We don't have as many kids to drive around anymore. But I've pretty figured out how I can get around Charlotte using mass transportation or using some sort of ride share. And so on the days that I use mass transportation, let's just say $500 car payment, another $80 a month in insurance on that car, $580. For where I work currently, I can take the bus back and forth to work, and that's $4.40 a day. I usually go to the office 20 times a month. That's $80 versus $580. And somebody gets to drive you around and you get a little chance. Even if you're like, I don't necessarily want to ride the bus, where I live to my office is about $7 to take rideshare. So $14 a day. Oh, now I got to do some tough math. So 10 of those days would be $140. So 20 of those days would be $280 compared to $580 for a car payment and car insurance. It's not really the traditional way that we do it in our culture to not have a car and to use mass transportation, depending on what part of the country that you live in. But I can tell you in the Southeast, that's not the norm. So I'm going to throw that out there as a radical idea. Can you get by with 1 car? Can you not have a car note? And can you use mass transportation? You potentially, if I'm saving $300 a month because of transportation, all of a sudden just on these tips, I'm close to $500, $600, $700 worth of savings. That makes my cruise budget, if I go all straight cruise budget, like $8,000 or $9,000 a year. So the money's there without even doing any extra work. So that's a radical one. think about ditching one of your cars and just using mass transportation. It's cheaper in the long run. And then if you have to go on a road trip or something, just rent a car. That even becomes a cheaper play than keeping a car. So, all right. And then number 7 in this section another interesting idea that I saw in the comments from the previous video is just don't bring your forms of payment with you. Don't bring your debit card. Don't bring your credit card. So if you're making the commitment not to eat out, or not to buy collectible at lunch when you're shopping around, or not to buy that afternoon ice cream or the extra coffee, one way to do it is to not carry money with you. Now, again, that can be a scary proposition. Sometimes you need cash. You get into a pickle. You got to do something. But, if you have trouble with your spending and you're constantly swiping your card, maybe when you don't intend to, just because it's an easy temptation, maybe try leaving your debit and credit card home for a week and see how that goes. See if it saves you any money from the vending machine or any extra spending that you might do. All right, so that's the first list that I wanted to share with you, primarily focused on things that you can cut back and techniques that you can use to save money. There was also another set of tips that came through the comments and that we've talked about before that are tied to using money in a more wise way, or a more calculated way. The challenge with this section is if you are not good with money, if you are not good saving, if you are not good using credit cards, be cautious because you can get yourself into trouble. So the next section we're going to talk about using credit cards that give you cash back or that give you points. The major cruise lines, they offer their own credit card that when you spend on their line, or when you spend in general, you can accumulate points. You can turn those points in for statement credits. You can turn those points in for onboard credits. And so the best way to do it, and the people that advocate it, anything that you spend during the month, you pay off. And then that way you reap the benefit of getting those points, and then you're actually saving on your cruise because you're generating money just by paying your electric bill and doing the normal things that you would do with your credit or debit card. The challenge is if you don't pay it off on a monthly basis, you rack up debt, and that debt accumulates interest, and the amount that you pay in interest obliterates anything that they're going to give you for free. And so that's kind of the way they do it. So they want people mindful, oh, I'm going to get points. But then I know that they probably run the numbers and say more people carry a balance than pay it off. And so that's why it's a winning proposition for them. So if you are challenged to save money, if you're challenged to pay your credit cards off on time, then don't do one of these things where you're trying to get points, because you're just going to end up with more debt than you are going to reap the benefit. But for some people it works, and I want to lay it out there so that that is an option. All right, so the next set of suggestions have to do with your employment and really the way you do banking. So if you have a traditional job where you're on a kind of yearly review or a semi-annual review where you get a raise or you get some extra money, one suggestion if you want to fund your cruise budget is to take a portion of maybe an increase that you get and have that automatically deposited to like a savings account. So for example, let's just say you make $40,000 a year, you get a great raise, you get a 10% raise. That means you're going to get a $4,000 raise per year. I don't think that's typical. I'm just doing it for the math. And you're like, okay, well, I'm already living off of $40,000 a year. Let me take half of that raise, or $2,000 a year, and put it into a savings account. And so most companies where you have direct deposit, you can deposit into more than one account. So you say, all right, well, what's the 2% that I want to do, broken down into however many times I get paid. Just throw that amount over into the savings account. Again, make it easy not to get to that money except when you absolutely want it. And then all of a sudden, on every paycheck, you're building up your cruise fund with money you didn't really think you needed anyways. And so it's a good way when you get a raise to maybe bump your retirement, and to also throw some extra money in the cruise fund, and you won't even miss it. Now, tagging on with that, there are some banks and some companies that have a Christmas fund where you can say, hey, I would like to put a certain amount of money away every paycheck, and then you give that to me right before Christmas as a big, pile of money to spend. You don't have to use it for Christmas. You could use it for a cruise. So if your company has a Christmas fund or some sort of savings fund, or if you have that at your bank, that is also an option. All right, and the final one along the financial lines, again, you got to do your work on this. You have to be super careful. You can use gift cards to buy gift cards to save money. Now, there are a lot of gift card sites out on the internet that sell gift cards at a discounted rate. Pennies on the dollar. You know, sometimes you'll spend 10 and get 15, almost like a Groupon style. You have to be super cautious. Google discounted gift cards. What you're looking for primarily for this cruising, and somebody mentioned in the comments, this is how they do it. They buy discounted Visa cards, and then they use those Visa cards to go to Kroger and buy Carnival gift cards. And so say that you've bought a discounted Visa card for $85. You take that discounted Visa card, you buy the $100 Carnival gift card. You've already made $15. Now, at an organization like Kroger, you get points whenever you make purchases there, and those purchases can be used for fuel savings. And so that's you got to work that out. You got to think about it. I think, I'm not great at things that take a lot of thought, but I am following the logic on this. I get a discounted gift card. I buy a Carnival gift card that gives me points. I do that often, and then I get to save money on my gas. So I'm saving on the gift card. I'm saving on gas, and therefore it makes my overall cruise cheaper. To me, it's a lot of work, but I think it's a great way to save money. But be cautious. That's the only thing. I don't want to, I'm not saying some of these things are easy. To me, like the best things for me are not like buying coffee and lunch. That's real binary. I understand how that works. But I wanted to offer that other suggestion as a way to save money on your cruise. And then just some final thoughts. Always book as far out as you can. Constantly be looking for deals on the cruise lines. Go back if you've already have a cruise booked. Use a tool that will tell you when prices drop so that you can save money. And there's just a ton of ways that you can save money. Use coupons when you do your shopping. Use coupons. Do things like pre-book your excursions or order things on the ship before you go. There's a lot of opportunities. We made a video on unique ways to save money on the cruise. It talks a little more about Kroger fuel points and stuff like that. I'll link that above and below. So that wraps up the series. That puts a bow on it. Hopefully the two previous videos and this one are helpful. But the whole thing came out of trying to answer the question, how can you cruise more often? How do you get to cruise as much as you do? And you'd be surprised that you have the money and you don't really realize it. I think you're going to find that getting the time to cruise is more challenging than getting the money to cruise. And so I'd love to hear your comments below. What are, there's no way I can get all of the tips. So please leave some information below on what you do. If this was helpful, leave a comment and tell us what things you're trying. And then also put a like on this video if you like it. It's helpful to make the video show up for others. So by subscribing and hitting the notification bell, you will be in the know getting the latest tips at Lido Loca. And then come join us over on Facebook at the Lido Loca Cruising Community. It's where the Loca fam is. Become a part of the Loca fam, and we'll continue the conversation over there. Again, my name's Tony, and I'm from Lido Loca. And until the next time, we'll see you on the Lido.